welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the BoshNRoll Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or listen sideboard guides before tournaments, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership program. This channel is possible because of these amazing sponsors. Check them out, all their links are in the video description. As always, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic.
Hello, welcome to the BoshNRoll 2025 State of the Channel Address. Magic Online is in scheduled downtime right now, and I have a window to record, so let's talk about how 2024 went and what 2025 will look like. There's not going to be any Magic strategy in this video. If you like this kind of back-end, how does this work, this whole business of YouTube work, there's going to be information here, and if you watch every day and care about what I'm doing, maybe this is of interest to you. 2025 will be my 5th year regularly uploading to YouTube and my 3rd year being a full-time creator. In 2024, I released over 250 videos. There were 251 weekdays in 2024, all of which had a video on them. And then I also did some Saturday releases here and there. So it's over 250, probably like 256, 257 in that ballpark. That's a lot of videos. The donation deck community, the BoshNRoll Patreon and Discord community that sends me decks to play remains a backbone of the channel. Coming up with over 250 decks every year on my own would be very difficult. And it's great to showcase different people's ideas, and it's my pleasure to help them work on their decks while they also provide something for me to make content out of. It's a great win-win situation. In 2024, the channel got 5.4 million views, which accounted for 1.8 million watch hours, which is 75,000 days or 205 years worth of time. That means you all out there in the world spent 205 human years listening to me talk about Magic in 2024 alone, which is a crazy number to me. It is humbling and confusing, but I'm glad it's working, and the economies of scale that we're working at, where 100,000 people give me a few minutes of their day every day, and suddenly it's 205 years worth of time. Incredible. So thank you all for that. In terms of channel growth, I got 5,600 new subscribers last year, which is nice, but it's slow compared to how I was growing 3 years ago. And I think what that means is I've mostly found my audience. There's always more Magic players out there, but the niche, like I understand I'm serving a niche, and all successful online creators are serving a niche. And my niche is legacy and vintage players for the most part. And in the giant Magic bucket of people who play casual Commander, and then people who draft on the weekend, and people who play standard at FNM, or people who are laser focused on qualifying for the Pro Tour, I don't really serve any of those people. So it's not surprising to me that, the prof has 1 million subscribers, because he's doing everything. He's doing different games. He's got Flesh and Blood and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh players on his channel. Like, he's doing a totally different thing than me, and I'm okay with that. The number that is important to me to see grow is the number of people who subscribe as a paid member on Patreon or YouTube. That $2 or $5 a month really keep the lights on here at the BoshNRoll studio. Those people are the MVPs. They all get Discord access. We're in there chatting it up every day of the week. There's close to 500 members in the BoshNRoll Discord, and the legacy deck brew channel always pop in, and general information, and spoiler season is always a fun time. We're doing stuff in there. Come join us. At the end of 2023, I bought a new custom streaming and recording computer that I used for all of 2024. There were some issues with that were unexpected. The machine itself was more powerful than I'm used to using. So there was some stuff like, how do I release videos that look good at my new screen resolution? I used to record on a laptop. I used to unfold that thing and then sit with my headset on and record. That's what I did for years. And now I have this big 2-monitor desktop system with top of the line giant monitors, and the processing power of the computer is like custom built for what I was trying to do. And I just wasn't ready for all that in a variety of ways. So there was some learning curve at at the beginning of the year, end of last year, where some videos looked a little funky, but I think we're over all that. There were also actual tech problems with the computer. The company that I ordered it from assembled it for me in California and then mailed it to me. And some of the parts failed throughout the year. I had a bunch of freezes and blackouts in the middle of recordings that cost me time and productivity. And because I use my computer every day to work, I couldn't mail it back to them for 3 weeks while they overhaul the system. So we had to kind of play mail tag, where they try to diagnose the problem through email, then they mail me the part, then I install the part myself, I mail them back the old broken part, and then we see if that worked or not. And we were mailing parts back and forth the entire year until my 1-year parts warranty expired, and they told me to kick rocks and figure it out myself, basically. Luckily, it's pretty much held up since that point, but I'm kind of disappointed with the service I received and the machine that I bought, like the quality of what they did. And that was a bit of a stressor this year. And shout out to everyone who went through those tough videos with me. There were a few videos this year where it's like half a round is just gone because my computer froze during recording and I couldn't recover the file. Luckily, at the volume that I create content, there will just be a new video tomorrow, and I don't have to, like, I'm not losing 2.5 months of work if an edited thing disappears from my computer. My stuff is pretty buckshot. It just comes out a lot, and each individual one can have a problem, and there will just be a new one tomorrow. Unlike like Ristic Studies, who puts out a piece of art once a month, it would be devastating for him to lose a video or half a video. I mentioned Patreon earlier. That has been steadily successful. Shout out to all the Patreon and YouTube members who make up the BoshNRoll Discord community. And last year, I won the Magic Cup at Legacy Chicago, or MagicCon Chicago. I won the Legacy Cup. I top-8'd the Legacy of Art event at that event. Top-8'd SCGCon Philly. I won the NYSE Vintage Open. I won the TopDeck.gg CEDH 10K Open. And then I top-8'd 2 Eternal Weekend events and bubbled out of the promo at 33rd on Breakers at a 3rd Eternal Weekend event. All of those lists were posted on Patreon before the event. And the events I did less good at. But that's just the ones that I won or top-8'd over the last year, and the Patreon had access to all of that. They could have just had Esper Stiflenot before Eternal Weekend Prague, which turned out to be the perfect meta choice. I also share deck guides, sideboard notes, anything that I made for those tournaments for myself, I share with the Patreon as well. Coaching is a huge part of my daily business outside of the channel when I'm not on camera. I have clients I've worked with for steadily 2 years now, and others who just sign up for one targeted session, like I have an event on this date, I would like you to help me map out my sideboard before that tournament. And we just spend an hour together and we do that. My real life job that I left to be a YouTuber full time was in education, and it's great to still be able to use those skills. Coaching is available as a Patreon tier or individually. You can reach out via email if you have questions about that. I've attended all of the US Magic Cons since the inception of Magic Cons a 1.5 years ago. I've been to all of them, and I intend to continue that routine. I did meet and greet booths at Eternal Weekend, and thanks to everyone at MagicCon and Eternal Weekend who come to the booth when I'm doing a meet and greet. It is always the biggest fear when you just put up a sign that's like BoshNRoll will be here at this time and nobody comes. And luckily for me, that's never happened. We've stayed busy, and it's been really nice meeting everybody and keeping me busy. It's also fun to see the difference in context. Like at a MagicCon, 95% of the people there might not know who I am, but the 5% who come to my booth are pretty excited. And at Eternal Weekend, I can't take 10 steps without somebody stopping me to have a conversation, whether it's in Europe or America. Haven't been to Japan yet. Maybe that'll change this year if some sponsors want to make that happen. Wink, wink. But that goes into feeding my niche that I talked about earlier. Like, I know who my audience are, and I know that Eternal Weekend is where I'm going to be, stopped in a mob, where at MagicCon, it's going to be the Command Zone guys and the professor being besotten. I had the opportunity this year to be a MTG ambassador for MTG Foundation set. It was really cool to be able to work with Wizards directly, and I hope to get to do more of that in the future. This year, I even got to attend a private Magic party for a channel supporter who flew me out for a cube draft weekend with his friends. I'm open to all sorts of creative stuff like that if folks want to reach out and talk to me about it. All my contact info is in the video description. The sponsors that helped out the channel, the Magic Online Creator Program was new this year, and that's been really cool. They have a bunch of resources. Being directly in touch with the game that I play every day is really phenomenal. Moxfield.com has been a steady supporter of the channel for several years now. I use Moxfield and genuinely believe it's the best deck building tool available. So shout out to Moxfield for both having a dope product and wanting to continue to work with me. That's going great. I started promoting the Resleevables this year, and they started promoting me. There's no money involved there. We just cross promote each other because we're friends and we like what each other do. That's been going really well. I have gotten comments both ways where people say to me like, wow, thanks for pointing out the Resleevables. That's awesome content. And I've had people say like, oh, I found you from the Resleevables. You're doing a cool thing here. And that's just working out perfectly. I worked with Ultimate Guard for 2024. They kept the products rolling for me to play Magic IRL using the stuff that I want to be using. I had intermittent collabs with 3-for-1 trading, including bringing me to Eternal Wicked Prague for the second time. That worked out great. And I had a bunch of individual small community promo runs like Gold Sabertooth's art Kickstarter and events like the NYSC Open or Oklahoma Land Run, promoting those in-community efforts. My rate is extremely reasonable for that. It's like 10% or lower than what I charge brands to promote with me. So if you have an event or a project coming out of the Magic community, let me know. You might be surprised how easy it is to get me promoting it. I've been working with an agency as well who brings me sort of one-off brand collaborations, like when you see Manscaped or Man to Sleep on the channel pop up here and there. That's them bringing me that stuff. And it's not a ton of work, but it came out to about $4,000 last year, just running one of those every 3 or 4 weeks as they become available. So that's like real money for an operation like mine. And even though, like, you know, I'm just here to play Magic, why is he talking about, you know, shaving his balls? Like, I know it can be an eye roll as a viewer, and it's taken some getting used to for me to promote stuff like that. But those spots keep the channel on the air, and it's just how this business works. And I hope to continue being sent that stuff. My quality of life in 2024 in general, just in the world, was phenomenal, I dare say. I made some mistakes in 2023. It was the first year I was a full-time creator, and I spread myself too thin in a variety of ways and just kind of stressed myself out. I never burnt out. Like, I know people are worried about that. Like, if I record with a scratchy voice or something, I always get comments that I do appreciate that are like, hey man, take it easy. It's okay if you miss a day. Like, don't burn yourself out for this. Well, it's my job, and I'm beholden to my sponsors. So I do kind of have to release every day because people pay me and they expect a product. But I do have the ability to take sick days if I really can't record. I go on vacations. I spend time with my wife and my friends. I'm doing a really good job managing my life and calendar in a way that is smooth and stress-free. 2024 was really nice for me. Moving into 2025, the coming year, I'm now sponsored by Tales of Adventure. We have agreed to work together for the year, so that's going to be a 2025 thing. Use code BOSH for 5% off at TOAMagic.com. I have known Michael, the owner of TOA Magic, for 15, 16 years, maybe even closer to 20. We were in college at the same time in the same area. We were both judging the same events in like the 2006, 2007 kind of range. And you know, he went on to have his Magic business. I went on to have mine. And it's really cool that we get to work together now. He is a person who I know and trust, and a company that I use and trust. So very excited to work with Tales of Adventure. Continuing to work with the Resleevables. Cedric went and got himself a job at Wizards of the Coast. Congrats, Cedric. And now Patrick Chapin is the second host alongside Patrick Sullivan on the Resleevables. At this time, I'm still waiting for updated assets to make a new promo. I know the promo I'm running still says Cedric and Patrick, but it is Patrick and Patrick now, and we're in touch about that. They have not really missed a beat. They have 6 or 7 podcast episodes out, and 6th edition came out with the new hosts installed check that out. My collaboration with Ultimate Guard is up for renewal. We started last January. It's January now. I hope to continue working with them. I continue to like the product they make. And I still have that agency who sends me stuff. We just had a annual debrief. Like, what are you into promoting? Is there anything you don't want to promote? What are your lines? What are your rates? We just had that meeting like a week ago, and I'm hoping to get more work out of them soon. I've also been invited to the Mana Vault in Milwaukee's 2-year anniversary. They're having a CEDH tournament for a bunch of dual lands on Saturday, and then a legacy tournament for a tabernacle on Sunday. And I will be in Milwaukee for that event. I'm not sure if it's been publicly announced with all the details yet, so I'm not going to do too much, but I love being able to show up and engage with the community as like a sponsored personality, like help promote the thing, and then also get to go and play Magic. That's just the nuts. If you have a store or a tournament series or a Magic club that you would like me to come hang out at, talk to me. That's the thing I do. Things that will be the same in 2025. I'm going to continue to release every weekday with a focus on Legacy. My general release cadence is Monday, Wednesday, Friday is Legacy, and I leave Tuesday and Thursday open to do other stuff. Sometimes the other stuff is more Legacy if I'm just really into Legacy or I have a ton of donation decks to get through. But Tuesday and Thursday will be the modern, the vintage, the pauper, stuff like that. In the past, I have resisted Vintage Cube. Like, I've released it on Saturday, or I've turned down people who want me to play it because it doesn't perform as well. And it doesn't perform as well, let's be clear. But I have really taken a shine to Vintage Cube over the last year and a half or so, and you can expect more of that on the channel during the week. Probably use that Tuesday or Thursday slot when the cube is live to get a few out there. My viewership numbers tell me exactly what my viewers want and what they don't. Like, it is very clear to me when I release something like Vintage Cube or Standard that my core viewer is less interested in that. But that also is a spot where I get more subscribers because somebody who wouldn't normally watch me is interested in that. And then maybe we can make a cuber into a legacy player, or we can make a legacy player into a cuber and you grow to like that. And I am always trying to balance keeping my core audience happy while expanding where I can. And I think Vintage Cube is in the correct range of the vibe of this channel. Even though I'm normally constructed, Vintage Cube is close enough. We're using a lot of the same cards, the same combos, and I just really like that and expect to see more of it. Coaching will continue to be a big part of my off-camera business. I already have coaching clients just rolled from last year into this year, and we're off and running. I have some new ones who have reached out already. Feel free to reach out if you're interested in that. By the way, if you're going to reach out about coaching, it's usually 2 or 3 weeks in the future that you have to plan for. You can't message me today and tell me you have an event this weekend and you need a coaching session real quick. I am busier than that. My calendar is quite full of coaching. And during Eternal Weekend, forget about it. You need the Patreon tier to get coaching during the months leading up to Eternal Weekend because everybody wants it at that point. And getting subbed at that Patreon tier is how I filter out who I'm going to prioritize with my limited time. But coaching's great. Jump in if you're interested. I'm going to continue going to the Magic Cons. Magic Con Chicago is coming up next month. I'm fully booked for that. Vegas and Atlanta are later this year. I plan on doing both of those. If you want to come meet and greet with me, I usually share a meet and greet booth with Phil from Thraben University, my Eternal Glory podcast co-host. Eternal Glory podcast, doing great, by the way. We are actually positive, making money now, which is a nice place to be for a podcast. But we'll be at the Magic Cons. I am already talking behind the scenes about NYSE this summer. There's no details for that yet that are public, but I am on board for it. And of course, Eternal Weekend will always be my Super Bowl. I'm hoping to do America and Europe. I really want to do Japan, but I need sponsorship help to make that happen. And we'll see what happens. We got most of a year to figure it out. And I worked with Star City Games to promote their Spotlight series in Atlanta earlier this month. I hope to continue to work with them because I would like to attend as many Spotlight series as I can. Those events are really great. Kind of a new offering somewhere in between the regional championship circuit and MagicCon is the competitive one-shot big event that the Spotlight series offers. And I had a good time in Atlanta and I hope to do more of those. Some possible new things that I'm thinking about is some edited live play content. I've been talking to other creators in the space who record live play about their setups, like people who just like drop a GoPro camera on the table when they're out at an event, or have a stand for their phone or whatever. There's a bunch of people doing that, and I am considering moving into that space. My hesitation to do that is, one, it's another mental overhead thing in person, where like all the time you see me just do something that makes no sense and I'm like, well, streamer brain. And that does happen when you're trying to narrate your plays and manage the recording software and everything while you're playing Magic. And I really don't want streamer brain to affect my performance at something like Eternal Weekend. So that's something I have to balance with and see if I'm comfortable with, but I have been looking at the equipment it would take to do that. And my wife has been bothering me about doing more recorded content with her. We did a video where I taught her to play Magic using the MTG Foundation's beginner box. And we've played Magic a few times since then off camera, and she's kind of into it and very into the idea of doing a follow-up. Another hang up with that is it's just so much more work than what I normally do. And I don't mind doing more work, but I do release 5 days a week, which is a steady clip. And putting like 12 to 15 hours into editing a project is very different than putting like 1 hour into editing a project. Those are my hangups with that, but it's on the list of things I'm seriously considering. And then live streaming is always possible. There are some opportunities that are in front of me on the table if I'm willing to live stream them. And that involves a lot of skills and work that are parallel to what I do currently, but it is different enough that it's a bit intimidating. And having these computer problems that I mentioned earlier throughout last year, if my computer goes black while I'm recording, it is annoying. Maybe I can recover the file, maybe I can't, but like that's all that's really going on. If my computer goes black when I'm live, that messes up all sorts of things and adds a whole layer of stress that I want to make sure that my physical materials are up to the task before I commit to anything like that. YouTube does offer a live streaming option. Twitch is more popular, but Twitch doesn't really pay any money compared to YouTube. YouTube's a much better place to do business than Twitch is. So I'd have to learn how to multi-stream on top of just getting back into the routine of streaming at all. This is pretty low on my priority list. It's like a lot of work that I don't think provides much value, but it's always just tingling in the back of my head that live streaming is something I can do. And I do know that, and I'm always thinking about it. I think those are all of the updates that I had to think about. You've got me for another year. My sponsors are lined up. My audience is stable. The MagicCon circuit continues. I continue to work with Wizards of the Coast, at least at that level. And I am excited and honored that this continues to work somehow. I was not expecting at age 35 to suddenly leave my successful career with my master's degree and all my skills and become a YouTuber, but somehow it made sense, and it continues to make sense, at least for another year. Here's to 2025. Thank you all for supporting, and I will, as always, see you tomorrow.